Welcome to the Everyday GSD Las Vegas podcast. I'm very excited to say Good Dudes Coffee is our prime sponsor today. Good Dudes, good coffee, good day ahead. Go to gooddudescoffee.com. Use Everyday GSD10 for the discount code. Josh Bridges, former Navy SEAL, is one of the owners and founders of Good Dudes Coffee. He is an awesome guy. He was guest number 31, episode number 31 on our show. Please check him out. Support him because he supports us. Again, Josh, thank you, and thank you, Good Dudes Coffee. And, of course, every one of our guests gets a package of his amazing coffee. Okay, today's guest here in Las Vegas, Brett Caruso, as you said, the Smith. What did you say? The
Smith of the Italians.
Smiths of the Italians. Okay, so I got a little bio on you here, quite impressive, and I know there's a lot more, so we're going to dive into this. You were an ex-pro baseball player for the Reds, 4 years baseball at West Virginia. You were a second-degree black belt in martial arts. You owned your own dojo in Florida.
Naples, Florida. Yeah.
Naples, Florida. You ran one of the largest out-of-home, large-format company for approximately 15 years, and that was in Los Angeles. You reside in Vegas now where you consult for Media World. Correct. And you're a big swimmer. You've been swimming since you're 10 years old. One cool accomplishment that I really like is you swam around Key West, which is called the...
it's Swim Around Key West. It was back in 2017 did that.
Nice. And that's, what is it, 12 and a half miles?
12 and a half miles around the island, yeah.
Yeah, 12 and a half miles. All right, we're going to dive right into this, man. Here we are in lovely Las Vegas where everyone's been so nice to us, and thank you for your hospitality.
I appreciate it.
And I know you're super busy, so thank you for coming on the show. And I'm looking forward to having a nice dinner with you after the show, too.
Me too. Thank you.
Yeah, and a couple drinks, probably more than a couple, because we have not been drinking on the show as of yet. Let's talk about swimming, man. What got you into swimming when you were 10 years old?
Actually, I started swimming when I was 6.
6. I was 4 years off, kids, already. I'm fucking it up.
That's okay. I was down in Naples, Florida. I was living down there with my mom, and I would join the YMCA. My mom needed to do something. I was a very hyperactive kid. So she got me into the YMCA swimming. It was the Naples YMCA Aquanuts. So I started swimming at 6 years old. I just took to swimming. I jumped in the pool and
the Aquanuts. Is anyone else laughing at this besides me?
Yeah, and after the first year, I actually became a very competitive swimmer. Traveled all over the state of Florida with the YMCA's. Did very well. Was one of the better swimmers in Florida for that kind of team sport back in the day. And
what was your stroke?
Butterfly, believe it or not, freestyle butterfly. Yeah, I was a big flyer. Claim to fame down there is when I was 7 or 8. I swam 20 25-yard laps consecutive of the butterfly. So it was kind of funny that that was kind of a big deal back then when I was that age. But did that.
I think it's more of a big deal that you remember that.
Yeah. Oh no, hey, it was kind of fun. I mean, I was in the water constantly. I was a kind of a towhead because.
Are you a Pisces?
I'm a Pisces. Yeah. I am a fish. March 8th. I just turned 52.
Oh, March 9th, man.
March 9th. There you go. Boom.
Yeah, right on.
Pisces. We get it. Yeah, we get it. We're fish.
Yeah.
But had a blast in the water, and then. I stopped swimming when I was 10 because I wanted to play baseball, football, like all my other friends and stuff like that. So I got out of swimming, and I got back into it in high school. I was wrestling, and my wrestling coach didn't get to practice until 5 o'clock. So I had from after school till 5 o'clock.
From 2 or 3 to
3 o'clock. Yeah, 2:50 to 5 o'clock to do whatever. So I went to the swim team. So I dove. I wanted to dive. I wasn't a very good diver, but I still had fun doing it. And I swam the 50. I swam the 50 in the medley relay and the 100 free. And I only did home meets because I couldn't really travel with the team.
Right.
So I did that my junior and senior year. So I was my high school was only 4-year letterman or 4-sport letterman in the school, which was kind of cool. So I got to do both. Because I really like to swim. I didn't practice swimming. I just practiced diving, and then when the meet would come, I'd just jump in and do the 50. Funny story, my swimming coach was like, can you do the 100 fly? I'm like, no way. I'm like, I don't have the endurance for that. Nah, you can do it. So
Because it's a lot of energy.
Dude, it's a lot. You know what I mean? And I didn't swim. I didn't practice. I just would I just jump in whenever they asked me. And I could sprint. So I jump in. I was a half a length ahead of everybody in the first 50. By the last 25 yards, I was pushing myself off the bottom of the pool to finish. And I got to the end, and I looked up, and I'm like, I told you. He's like, yeah, you're right.
But you didn't give up though.
No, I had to finish. But man, that was like, as soon as I hit the 50 yard, 50, and I go to do my other 50, I'm like, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I just kept slowing down. And basically it was kind of like a little embarrassing, but I got over it. I'm like, I kicked everybody's ass for the first 50 and then just lost it.
Yeah. But again, you didn't quit though.
I didn't quit.
You didn't quit.
I did not quit.
Because that's not in your blood.
No, it's not my blood.
No.
I've been, an athlete since I've been 6 years old. It was pretty much, like I said, I was a hyperactive kid, and it, saved my mom a lot of headache probably. Yeah. And then I moved in with my dad when I was 13 in Pittsburgh, and then just continued my athletic there. And then he played for the Pirates.
Okay.
And I was a third baseman coming out of like, younger. And then when my dad got a hold of me, he's like, "You're going to be a catcher."
Okay.
I'm like, and he's like, "Fast away the majors, either catcher or pitcher." So I'm like, all right. So my first summer.
Isn't there less of you guys to pick though?
It's just
Or that's how you get seen.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a good catcher, it's like like catching and pitching. It's not like just you got a million third basemen, a million this, but if you're really good at that, it's a faster way to get.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Seat. You know what I mean? Because it's just one of those.
You could be a really good third baseman, but there's so many third basemen.
Many, yeah, exactly. So being a catcher, it's also like being the quarterback. Of the baseball team. You're in every single play.
Right.
So my first summer I got out there, and how my dad taught me not to be afraid of the bat is he put a catcher's mask on me and then sat me down and swung a bat in my head and my face for like an hour. And he's like, "Don't move."
Tough love.
Yeah, don't move or I'm going to hit you. I'm like, okay. So he would sit there and just swing, it was like, psh, psh, you're on my head. And
but fortunately, he was a pro baseball player, so he probably had some pretty good.
He had some good control.
Yeah.
But when you're 13 years old, you got your dad, sitting here, I'm going to swing a bat at your head, I'm going to knock your head off if you move. It can get kind of scary.
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah, but it worked. It worked, because you have to be on, you have a bat going in front of you, you got a ball coming, you got all that kind of stuff, and then the rest is history. So I started catching in the 8th grade. And then, I continued through high school, and then, was able to get a, Division I scholarship out of high school to go play at West Virginia University. And then, I'm going back for the first time in 30 years on April 27th, 1994. We had a dream season, went to College World Series, and we won 40 games that year. No team at West Virginia has ever still won 40 games. So, the 30-year anniversary of that is
coming
on the 27th.
Yeah.
So. I haven't been back. Like, my buddies, still live back east and stuff, and they go to the alumni games. So I'm going back, and for the night, I'll be there Friday night, fly in like late 1:30, get there, probably stay the night in a hotel right there, and then, rent a car, drive to West Virginia, which is like, an hour, 20 minutes.
By the time this episode comes out, you'll have already gone there and come back. But.
Yeah, probably. Probably. But, so it'd be good to see my buddies.
Yeah.
And
when's the last time you've been back? Is it
30 years?
It's really been 30 years.
I haven't been back since 1994.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of pretty cool.
And they have a new stadium. They're up on a mountaintop and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and they moved into the Big East.
Yeah.
I think it might be, I don't know if they're in the Big East or the Big Ten now. I don't know what their division they're in, but lots changed.
Right.
And they've had really good seasons, and had a lot of pros come out of there and stuff. And it's funny because I'm 5'9". When I was playing ball my senior year, I was like 5'9", 210. And they haven't had a catcher under 6'2", I don't think, since.
Right.
I look at these rosters, and these giants,
giant monsters.
Yeah. I was like a Pudge Rodriguez back in the day. Balls did get by me though. That wrestling helped me with that.
Right.
My lateral movement, and like duck walking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I was pretty quick, behind the plate. So that.
So
was
you get
fun.
picked up for the Reds?
Yeah, I signed free agency. I didn't get drafted. I was in the draft. I didn't get drafted, and I went to camp, and I got signed. I played a summer in West Virginia. Actually, they have a team out there, and then went back out there on a strike. And Plant City, and I was a couple weeks away from probably going and playing again, but then the strike ended, and that was it. So a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Big Bo Trumbo was the guy who sent me out there, and I don't even know if he's still alive. He's Big Bo Trumbo, big dude. But so it's funny because I didn't pick up a baseball again until I lived in New York, because I quit playing ball after I was done playing ball. I stayed in Florida. And then that's when I got into karate. So I want to go to New York and be an actor. It's like, yeah, I was young and pretty, all that kind of shit, right?
Yeah.
So I got into martial arts, and I'm like, hey,
And you made it to black belt, second
I made it to
grade?
black belt. Yeah. Well, see, what happened was
not an easy accomplishment.
I saw an opportunity to. He had a smaller school. His name, and then he's like, I was living there basically, and then I saw an opportunity to grow the school. So I came on as his enrollment director. Okay. All right, and his name was Rob Fletcher. He was a world champion kickboxer and stuff like a badass dude. Knocked me out a couple times. So I took over as his enrollment director, and we grew the school within 6 months. We doubled the enrollment of the school because he didn't have time to go out there and make calls for people coming in.
So you're black belt, second degree black belt.
It was interesting how I got there. I got there quickly because being the enrollment director, I basically lived at the school from 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. So I took classes with 5-year-olds, 6-year-old, whatever class there. I would go and I would be in the class. So I would, I kind of got fast tracked through that, just because I was learning,
right?
I trained hours and hours and hours a day,
But at the same time, while you're doing this, the owner of the dojo realizes that you have a skill in sales.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's probably one of the first times that was recognized at a high level.
Yes.
Because we're going to go into down in a little while, talking about your 15 years working for the largest
outdoor company. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, my dad was my dad was probably, they always call him the mayor. I mean, he was one of the best salesmen ever. He worked for the state of Pennsylvania for years, teaching classes on sales and how to, do things for just basic knowledge of how to interact and how to influence and stuff like that. He was very good at that. So I was kind of like in my nature.
So you learned it naturally without like taking a class.
Correct. When I worked for my dad briefly after I played baseball, and when I left, he's like, you're my best salesman. Didn't know it. I was like talking to people, trying to get them to do. He had a company called Industry Net. Try to get seminars and stuff for to connect people with good leads. Right. So that was my first foray into sales. And then when I moved down to stayed in Florida, I just saw an opportunity there and just started making phone calls. And it's still to this day. Justin could probably tell you, just like, I'll just pick up the phone and try to call anybody. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like everybody's reachable at some point. If I can't reach you, I will find you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a skill. And when we talk about everyday GSD, obviously that's the whole point of the podcast. But that's not giving up. That's saying, because you're going to get a roadblock. You can't find this person you're looking for, and then you give up. Well, that's not the everyday GSD way. The everyday GSD way is, I need to find this person. I'm going to go to every person I know that maybe can connect me with them. Yeah. But eventually I'm going to be able to sit in front of this person so I can tell them what I need to do.
Tenacity and perseverance.
Yeah. That's it. Tenacity and perseverance. It's such a skill and a gift that is so overlooked in today's sales world. Yeah. In my opinion. I own a manufacturing company, and I have amazing sales guys on my team. And I look at some of my competition, and I'm like, just show up. I mean, my guys.
That's the first thing.
My guys show up, and then they produce.
That's the first thing. You need to show up first.
You need to show up first. That's the first step.
Dude, okay, so funny story about that. My cousin lives in Florida, and my uncle, they all run their own electronic business, the electricians and stuff. So he was telling Ken and my cousin, he's like, look, the biggest thing to be successful down here in Florida, show up. Yeah. He goes, you can be at any business you want. As long as you show up, you're going to be successful. Yeah. Because people just don't show up.
If you show up, you're already at a higher advantage than most of your competition.
Because you put yourself in the game.
It's not a fucking shame.
It is. But it's so simple. You think about, but it also shows that you're committed. That you can be trusted. You're there. Like, I'm here to you. I said that I can do this. I'm here. I'm providing a service for you. Whatever. I'm here. Okay. So what do you need? You tell me what you need. I will get it done. Yeah. And that's like, this is perfect when I get the GSD. That's exactly what it is. It's like, I'm here to produce. Right. I love to produce.
So you end up going back to Florida. Yeah. Are you still swimming as a hobby?
So in 2017 when I did that, I gave me something to a goal. You know what I mean? Because our buddy Braulio, he was like, "Hey, I'm doing this swim. You want to do it with me?" I'm like, I was like, "That's a commitment." But I'm like, yes. So that night, I said, "Yes, I will do it." So when I committed to it, I started swimming. There was a pool in between where I worked and where I lived, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna do this." I started swimming, and I got to swim with a bunch of I would say called pro swimmers.
Yeah.
Got to swim with Brian Lochte. He was part of the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Saw him swim. I tell you what. In person, that guy, you understand. I mean, he's shaped like a fish as far as his feet, how he moves, and he's giant feet, and they're just gonna go like this, and he was funny. He just like swimming just like naturally and just blowing everybody away. But I got to I competed again, which I hadn't done in years.
Right.
But that was an eye opener because I'm like, back in the day, I was always faster than everybody. I got in the pool, and I'm like, I'm not that fast anymore.
Not that fast anymore.
Not fast anymore. So, but I trained and trained and trained. I lived a very clean, like 5-6 months. That's why I have a kid now. Yeah, that was another funny story. But I enjoyed that training. I enjoyed swimming. So I stopped swimming and I started swimming again. I made sure the gym, because I didn't work out for a while. Whatever. But I started swimming again because I like it's a great workout.
It's an awesome workout.
You sweat and you don't even know it because you're in the water. But it's a full body workout. You got your, you're using your legs, use your shoulders, use your body, you're pulling, you're pushing, kind of thing. So it's and it's low impact on your body.
Right.
And being kind of a bigger guy than I am, it's like being on the treadmill hurts at times.
Well, and plus you played some, obviously baseball's rough on the body.
Yep.
But on top of that, black belt 2nd degree. Your body's taking abuse.
Oh, I still have scars and knots that will never go away.
Right.
Yeah, on my shins.
Yeah, swimming is a very, very good low impact workout.
Yeah, I mean it's low on your body, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's funny because if I was watching, like I do sometimes. I had a pool when I first moved to Vegas, and I did the tether.
Yeah.
So I'm swimming in place. And they say when you first start doing that, don't swim any longer than a half an hour, though, because you will start wrecking your body.
Right.
Because, when you're swimming in place, you just don't kind of think. But when you're doing that tension and stuff like that, they say keep your workouts at about a half hour.
Right.
Like if I'm just swimming laps in a pool, I'm swimming miles.
Yeah.
I would just sit there and swim for 2 hours at a time. And that's what I would do in the mornings training for this. I would swim 20 miles a week.
Wow.
In the pool. Yeah, I'd be there at 6:30 in the morning before I go to work. Swim 2.5-3 miles. And then, go to work and then come back.
And it's so different swimming in a pool as opposed to swimming in the open ocean.
Oh, well, the ocean, the salt buoys you up.
Yeah.
So it's actually easier, depending on the current and stuff like that.
Right.
There's times in that swim when I felt like I was swimming in place because,
Right.
I'm swimming against the current.
Yeah.
But it is a different swim, absolutely.
And how did you like swimming around Key West?
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And I'm deathly afraid of sharks. After seeing Jaws, like when I was a kid, because I swam a marathon when I was 10. I swam 4 miles in the ocean when I was 10 down in Florida. When you're a kid like that, you don't think, but you're kind of you're a little tight when you're swimming around there, just looking around you. But it was amazing. It was like something that was invigorating and just a sense of accomplishment that I hadn't had in a while.
Yeah.
And I was on cloud 9 after I got out of the water. I'm like, that was awesome. I puked before I went in because I was nervous.
Oh, I bet.
I was like, I'm sitting there, and you buy all this crap. You buy these, the Gatorade packs, stuff like this. Mustard in case your joints, stuff like that, because no one can touch you. There's boats following you, and then if you cramp up, someone throw you some mustard. I guess that's what you do when you're cramping up. So we had all this stuff. Didn't use any of it. Didn't use it.
Nope.
Didn't drink any Gatorade. Didn't drink water. Nothing. I just swam.
But you had it in case you needed it.
In case you needed it, yeah. But we went out and spent all this money on this stuff. By the time we left Key West, we had to trash it all. We spent like $100 on all this crap. We didn't even do any of it. But,
So what brought you to L.A.?
Acting.
Acting.
Yeah. So I went to, when I was in Florida, all these parents were like, you should go to New York, you should be an actor, you're a good looking kid. And I always had the acting
And they
bug.
were lying to you or no?
No, I was a great looking kid.
Yeah.
And I had always had the acting bug in college. The classes I went to in college were, theater and stuff. Like I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. So I moved to New York and, got into acting and stuff like that. And plus, moving to New York, the first time I was kind of like, I was on my own. I got away.
On your own, like away from
everything.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
You can be on your own, but you live in the same city as your family or
Right.
your brother or your,
Right.
You're on your own, but you're not on your own. But
Right.
when you move across country or up the coast.
Up the coast.
And you're on your own. You're like, I'm on my own.
I had a brother. My brother's in Jersey.
Yeah.
All right. So he lives in Wayne, New Jersey. But yeah, I was by myself, and it was awesome. You know what I mean? Here I am. I'm still a naive kid. You know, going to New York, and I worked in the nightclubs and had some stories about that.
That's probably
another
90s. That's probably another podcast.
Absolutely. But I got into acting, you know, and
we're gonna find out he ran Scores.
I've been there. I went there a million times. VIP club. Whoa, back in the day. My roommate worked there. So yeah, I spent quite a bit of time in those establishments.
Yeah,
had a blast. In your 20s, New York City.
And when you say establishments, you mean?
I mean, you know, we're you know, we're
adult bars.
Adult bars, yes. Where, you know, even back in the 90s, you know, you're paying, you know, $13 for a glass of water and $12 for a cup of coffee. Yeah. You know, so you know, it's VIP in Scores, yeah, and very important people. But it was a lot of fun. I was a bartender most of the time in New York. Worked at all the major nightclubs. I actually, you know, kept with the martial arts. My instructor, my Shion in Florida, his school that he started in were a Tiger Showman, which is the biggest school in New York City. They had, Tiger Showman. So I went and I trained there, and I started back as a white belt, but they had me teaching class as a white belt. You know, because I already knew that, you know, it was the same exact curriculum, you know what I mean, as far as everything, because that's what, you know, what my Shion did. So it was kind of funny where I'm teaching class as a white belt. Funny story, though, there's a blue belt. This guy was probably 6'5", 6'6", and we're sparring. Big old hand comes down right back of my head. Thunk. I mean, I'm just like, I barely could stand up. It was funny. So we was sparring. This guy just knocked me out.
You're like, why'd you hit the white belt guy?
Oh, yeah, no, exactly. But that was kind of funny. I mean, that hurt. I was like, wow. You know, that was one of the hardest hits I ever had in my life. It was like, bam, in my head. But so I was there. I was acting. Then I, probably 1999, I started working for a big Broadway producer and movie producer, Marty Richards. He was my mentor. Great guy. I called him Mr. Broadway. So then I started working there, and then I got a chance to be in the movie Chicago. So I was in the movie Chicago.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a fun experience in Toronto. Stayed in Toronto for 3 weeks, and again, you know, went to a few establishments there and had some fun there in Toronto, which, you know, has some really good ones, and so had a blast doing that. And then after that, I'm like, okay, my buddy was moved to LA, and he kept saying, hey, you got to get out here, you got to get out here. So this is 2002, and I'm like, all right, you know, I'm like, so in January 1st of 2003, I moved to Los Angeles. And I, you know, kept going with the acting. Did a couple of straight-to-video movies, martial art films actually, and did a commercial for Mike's Hard Lemonade. I actually played a catcher, and it was a spec commercial, but it was a lot of fun. And the ball came and went through my heart, you know, and just like everybody's over top of me, and it, you know, the baseball runs up into the stands and starts taking the Mike's Hard Lemonade out from the chick's hand. It was pretty funny. Yeah. And I was bartending still, and so at that point, you know, I didn't know what much direction was going on in my life, you know, so because I wasn't really acting anymore. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this or not.
Right.
So I started. A buddy of mine was working for this company called SkyTag, and
explain what SkyTag is. I know because you explained to me earlier.
SkyTag was a large format out of home company. So and back in Los Angeles in the late '90s. This guy, Mike Benili, he was a big artist, and he had all of Sunset Boulevard. He was doing big, giant murals on all these big buildings in Sunset, and finally got a couple big deals with Disney, and started selling third-party advertising on these buildings, okay? And it was kind of like new, so no one knew, you know, kind of what was going on, but then, you know, two 20-year deals worth like, you know, $20 million. You know, it was like the biggest thing in outdoor. So James was working for him, and he's like, well, why don't you come and be my assistant? And you know, and then, you know, come into the company. So I'm like, okay. So I started working for James. So I was doing all his calls and all that kind of stuff. And it's a very cool business. I mean, you're talking, you know, tens of thousands of square feet on sides of buildings, you know, very, very impact. They're vanity buys, they're called, but, you know, you're doing the Disneys and the, you know, now Netflix and stuff like that, the Paramounts, all the big major studios, fashion, and stuff like that, and technology. Apple, and so, you know, I had an opportunity to kind of change landscapes,
right?
And, you know, work for a guy who innovated. He was a maverick in the business. You know, his son's name's a Maverick. It's funny, but was a maverick in the industry, and very unique individual, which I've come to find out now. You know, I mean, I haven't worked for him. You know, been there since like end of 18. but we'll get that in a minute. But he was a very unique person.
Right.
So I started working there, and then he had a chance to. He had bought some warehouses out here in Vegas, and he wanted to open up the Vegas market. So he says, I need someone to go out in Vegas, run, kind of look over my stuff. I'm like, I'll go. So I was with the company for less than a month, and ended up moving to Vegas. So he got an apartment. Everything's paid for. I just had to pay for my, my cell phone and stuff like that. But he paid the rent, he paid the bills and stuff,
right.
and I made $500 a week. So, and then I started getting contacts with the printers out here and going in and trying to get inside these hotels to try to pitch these big super graphics. So the first one we did out here was Tony Braxton back in 2006. It covered the whole side of the Flamingo, and people would buy rooms in certain body parts of her. It was kind of funny.
Really?
Yeah, she's on the side because she was performing out there. So then we did that one, then it snowballed. Then we did that one, then we did the Love Mural, which is still up there, been up there almost 20 years. I did the first 3. And then by the end of 2007, I had produced 20 images in this town. We had built up, I had absolutely.
And these are big dollar.
I'm talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're doing
and your job is to sell these.
To sell and produce. I mean, at one point, I had an associate working with us, and he left. So for 10 years, I was the main moneymaker.
Right.
I sold, produced, I handled the installations. I mean, we had our bookkeepers and stuff. But yeah, so I was basically. We had the premier locations in Los Angeles, these Sunset Boulevard and in Hollywood and stuff like that. And basically, I sold that stuff and produced that stuff for years. 2007, when the first Transformers movie, was my kind of claim to fame. Is Paramount called us and said, hey, we want to do something big and spectacular for this movie.
Right.
So we had a meeting, and we had a building on Sunset and Vine. It was a condemned building, and one of our partners bought it, and it had asbestos and everything in there. So the whole building was wrapped in this kind of shrink wrap, and it had all these scaffold, but they had taken all the wrap off. So you had all these random plastic pieces kind of going off, and it was just this big metal looking thing. So I'm driving home from that meeting. I look at that building. I'm like, hey, I'm like, why don't you make that a big giant robot transformer? So I called Mike. I'm like, hey, what about this idea? He said, that's a pretty good idea. So we went and we pitched it. So we did some mock-up stuff. We pitched it to Paramount, and they bought it, $1 million, right? And it had to be signed off by Spielberg and Katzenberg. So Jeffrey Katzenberg and Spielberg were the producers. Michael Bay obviously, directed. So yeah, that was my kind of first claim to fame in the outdoor industry. Is that I pitched that idea. I said, let's light it up, let's do the eyes, all that kind of stuff. They did. They built the big giant.
And how did you come up with that idea? You just drove by.
And I'm like, it looks like it's a big metal piece, and it's tall. It was the tallest building in Hollywood. I'm like, it looks like it looks something that could be a transformer because it looks like a robot. So you could do something on there where that thing is turning into a robot.
Right.
And they bought it.
Yeah.
And Jeffrey Katzenberg called it the biggest cock in town. It was kind of funny. So that was a lot. Then the Goo Goo Dolls, their song was the song for the movie, the title song, and so the location scouts and stuff were there, and I was on site one day, and location scout, hey, do you know? I'm like, well, this, it's our building and whatever. So I was able to negotiate them shooting the video. They shot that video on top of Sunset and Vine with choppers and stuff going around. They see the big image on that, and I got to be in the video. That was part of the deal. So at the beginning of the video, you see me open the gate, and a construction hat on and stuff like that. So that was a lot of fun. So that was like my first foray into really
I'll have to
doing
check
something.
that. I'll have to check that video.
The video's that you can look it up on YouTube, and it's me opening up the gate. I mean, you really can't tell it's me because they kind of blacked out my face, kind of thing. But I was able to negotiate that, and that kind of put me on the map as far as doing some really cool stuff. And then for years after that, we did a lot of big things for Paramount and a lot of big things for everybody. So, and then being an artist and stuff like that, I'm kind of creative, being a Pisces, you can understand that. It kind of just fed into my natural kind of interests.
Right.
And, it was really cool because, I got a chance to change landscapes.
Yeah.
Actually cityscapes. And pitched some really cool ideas that were bought, produced a lot of cool stuff out here in Vegas as well. The last one that I did that was really big was the Terminator one for Genesis back in 16, I think. And I told them how to do it. And we made this one I read with a metal salad bowl that we got from like Walmart or something like that, and we put a bunch of LEDs and then ran a string up the building. So his Terminator eye was red at night. We did the same thing for Transformers on the Luxor. We had two salad bowls with both of Optimus Prime's eyes lit up at night, and they were so bright you could see them. You could see them from the airport. You could see them flying in. You see these big bright eyes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Yeah.
So how long does it take from the time that you start talking to someone to purchase it, or to the sales process? How long does it take from the time the beginning of the sale to the time it's up?
It varies.
This is a long time.
It's
right?
well, they go through media buys. So you'll have a campaign. A normal campaign for any like out of home is 4 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so what it is you'll get you deal with all these media companies, and and you have your inventory, and they send an RFP. Hey, we're looking for for so and so show, we're looking for this, budget wise and stuff like that. So they'll send out these media companies send out RFPs to these companies and say, hey, what do you got available and stuff like that. So they would call, and then I would send off what our availability was, and it's a matter of following up. And as far as sales on that kind of stuff, you gotta give them why they should use that. I mean, luckily we had some really good inventory.
Sales hat on.
Yeah, you got to put your sales hat on. But luckily we had really good inventory, so sometimes it sold itself. My biggest thing was once I got that, I had to just make sure that I'm not overselling. Like I have a campaign, someone bought this, I got to know that I can't sell it for this time. And sometimes they would butt up because what happened? You got a campaign, you're spending a couple $100,000. For 4 weeks, there's no room for mistakes. Right. So, and then you'll have a campaign that'll end on one day, and the next one starts the next day.
So you have to pull everything off.
Yeah, pull everything down, and then you have like a 3 to 5 day window to install. All right. So there were times whenever a installer would put on a building would not, because you got to think this is like a puzzle piece, and you cannot tell when you're up on a building what you're putting up.
No,
it's just a bunch of pixels. Okay, and far away you can see, but then you have guys putting things on upside down. Some coming up like, dude, you guys installed three three sections upside down. Then I got to have that printed. I got to have all that done. So then that's money out of your pocket. So I mean, like I said, there's no room for mistakes. Right. So you have to be on top of your game, and from beginning to end.
And when they're installing, is this 24 hours?
No, they'll do a 12-hour window, usually 8 hours, and then if you're really on a time crunch, then you got to pay them overtime. So then the installers usually will give you a cost on that, and then
so the installers is a different part of the business.
Yeah. See, I'm the middleman. So I have the locations, we have the license agreements, and then I have my vendors. I have my installers, I have my printers. Okay. So I'll come install, say, hey, I got a 20,000 square foot image. What's your square foot price? Which we had a set price for a lot of times for years because we worked with the group for many years. And so I would say, hey, got this coming up. So, we kept their people in business. And then I'd call my printer and say, hey, so I'd go through, get the artwork. So, I mean, I was get the really cool things where I'd be in the rooms with Disney. We'd be at Disney, we'd be at Paramount, we'd be at Sony, whatever, in these big rooms, seeing all these concepts of all these cool things that they're going to do, and, asking us what's going to work best, So that was very cool, to be able to go in there and have that kind of influence on what they do. And by the time I'm really into it, Mike basically was like, where's my check? He'd go to these meetings, but he really wouldn't say much or whatever. And I'd be there, and I'd be the person doing the talking, right? Or whatever, because at that point, I would consider myself an expert. Right. And so, that was a very good education. But at the same time, we were still caveman. Right. Because we didn't, all these new technology coming out, like Salesforce, all this kind of, all these different things. We didn't use it. We didn't need to use any of that kind of stuff. So right. I was behind at times on certain things because I worked in such a boutique agency within the industry. Right. We were kind of like the wicked stepchild, that didn't go to events and stuff like that. Oh, this is SkyTech. Yeah. You know what I mean? So we show up and we do cool stuff. Right. And I guess I had a reputation I didn't even know about. Right. So,
do you think your growing up with a dad who was a professional athlete, yourself being a professional athlete and a longtime swimmer and accomplishing things like swimming around, Key West, these are big goals to accomplish. Do you think those skills when you were younger, going into your college years and into your 20s, helped you become a better salesperson or a better person with more drive than the people who just aren't even showing up?
Absolutely. it was ingrained. It's like like habits. You create these positive, good habits. It's like anything. You're conditioning. It's conditioning. So when you're younger, you're doing this kind of stuff. And whenever when I was younger, my buddies would be out at the pool in the summer. I wouldn't be at the pool. I'd be in the backyard hitting off a tee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Making sure I got my 1,000 swings in a day, making sure that I'm crouching down and working on my release, all that kind of stuff.
Discipline.
Even though I'd rather be at the pool.
Yeah. Discipline.
Discipline, and then so, and plus it kept me grounded. I'm kind of scatterbrained at times, so that focus would help, and it also, I enjoyed it once I got to a level to where it was noticed that I was one of the better players, or one of the better around. I was a good athlete. I was a really good athlete, but there was much better athletes around, that had bigger names and stuff like that. But at the same time, in the circles when I was with them, those guys showed respect. When after you come back, and I did some travel teams and stuff like that. Like, it's Brett. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I never looked at myself that way, because I was a fat kid. I was a super fat kid. You know
super
what I mean?
fat.
Yeah.
I like when he says I was a super fat kid.
Super fat kid.
Not just a fat kid, a super fat kid. That's like super size.
Yeah, super size, dude. I was at a 34 waist at like 10 years old, like 11 years old. So, and then I'm wrestling and I'm in the 30 waist. When I'm a teenager, like 14, 15, 16 years old, I'm like, way less than I did when I was 10. So you have, it's almost like that. That was that movie with The Rock and Kevin Hart when he played the. He was the CIA guy, but he always look in the mirror. You always see the fat kid,
Yeah. That
was me. So, my self-confidence was interesting. My father was very hard. He was very, disciplinary. Nothing was ever, I don't want to back, whatever, but it was never good enough.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't get that positive reinforcement. It was always like, you get better, you do more, do better, do more.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but that still instilled a drive.
Which is probably a good thing.
It is.
When you look back at it, you see your friends didn't have that same thing.
They didn't get the accolade. They didn't reach what I did. No.
But then they're not where you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I think that, going through that experience, I might do things a little bit differently, you know what I mean? Because I know what I wanted, and, and sometimes there was certain lacking in certain areas where I think it might have been, helpful, but at the same time, it definitely built, a thicker skin, a drive to accomplish something.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so that definitely.
I love everything you're saying.
Yeah, it definitely helped mold a facet of me that has definitely helped me be successful in a lot of areas of my life.
It helped you evolve into the person you are today. Yeah. To give you the building blocks to then turn in your own self. Yeah. And then grow from there.
Well, the fear, there's certain, there's no fear. In certain areas, like there's nothing for me to lose. Right. There's only something for me to gain. I made a lot of mistakes, obviously, but at the same time, no one's going to ever say that I wasn't, that I didn't have the tenacity, the perseverance. I will wear you down, but at the end of it, you will like me the better for it.
And that's the everyday GSD way, right? At the end of the day,
get shit done.
You're going to get shit done. You're not going to be, like you said, wear them out. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Or you're not going to quit.
Not going to quit.
Absolutely. Quitting is not an option.
No.
Quitting is not an option, because if you quit, you're like the people who didn't show up.
Yeah. Like I did in college. For some of my classes. College was a fun experience for me whenever you have, where everything was regimented. Yeah. And then finally when you get away, it's so funny. My senior year, I had to be in by midnight. 3 months later, I'm in college, I had no curfew. Yeah. Yeah. I'm only 3 months older, but I had no curfew because I'm out of high school.
You're a free man.
I'm a free man. Yeah. But trust me, I took advantage of that for the first 6 months of college.
Yeah. But, let's talk about you, because right now, obviously, you live in Vegas, because that's where we are in lovely Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
So you consult in the media.
I do. I consult for another large format outdoor company, and I consult for a few people. And I work at a sign company, YESCO. I work as, I'm a sales associate over there, executive executive sales guy over there, for YESCO. Been there about almost 3 years.
And what does YESCO do?
YESCO is sign and lighting. So I'm on the service side.
The big signs.
Big giant. You're talking like Flamingo. They built the Win. They built everything. They've been around forever, ever. So
how much does a sign like the Win? How much does that cost? Just
millions.
a rough millions.
Yeah, millions of dollars to produce something like that.
Yeah.
I say at least $1 million.
Yeah.
I mean, that's some crazy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, their shop out here. I mean, they're building it by piece, and they go up there and you got to get cranes and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and to put that stuff up there.
Permits.
Yeah, and they're much larger than you think.
Oh no, I know. I believe
You know what
it.
I mean, you look at that and okay, you see that, but then when you see that on the ground, it's like 2 football fields.
I mean, there's a sign graveyard here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
YESCO. That's pretty much all YESCO.
Okay, because it's like a tourist place you can go
Yeah,
and check
that's
out.
all YESCO.
Yeah.
YESCO built almost, I think, probably 99% of those signs.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, so what I'm doing
Do
now?
they have a lot of competition?
Out here for that? No, there's some competition, sure, but not. They're still the go-to when it comes
Right.
to anything like that. Because I mean, they like I said, they're great name by the way. It's a young sign company, but YESCO. I mean, Young Electric Sign Company, which is a great name, but it's 5 generations.
Okay.
And 5 generations. I started in Utah and then came out here to Vegas. A Mormon family, but every single person in the family works there. For sons, daughters, everybody.
Yeah.
It's a family-run business.
Truly a family-run business.
It's privately owned, but it's still just as big as many corporations.
Yeah.
So, great place, great family kind of environment to work in. I'm was fortunate that I got on with them when I did.
Nice.
When I left Los Angeles during COVID, so it was good. But I'm consulting for a company called Pearl Media, which is they do more about what I used to do.
Okay.
Okay, so
I got you.
I was kind of in the dating phase with those guys for a bit. They and then they finally said, okay, well, you can come on board for a few months and see what happens, and then, so that's where we are with that. And I'm hoping.
And you like doing it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is what I'm used to doing. And they understand. Like I am now on the phones, trying to get. Basically, I've already had a couple meetings. We had a meeting with Virgin, had a meeting with Top Golf, stuff like building some big stuff for them. So
if you do Top Golf, for example, does that end up giving you a contract for the top golfs around the country, or no? Most of those,
that would be great. I mean, because what's happening? A lot of cities are opening up now.
Just trying to understand the business model, because like if you're opens up other cities, how are you manufacturing all that stuff here, or you're having to open up?
We use manufacturers that do that. We have partnerships with with
it's all about
multiple companies.
relationships.
Relationships. Because we don't physically build anything.
Right.
We're the guys who put the deals together and stuff like that. And
You're the
hire
broker.
vendors. You're the broker. You know what I mean? But we get the deals. We get the license agreements. So there's no other company can come in and say, okay, well, I'll do it better. You have a contract for 20 years. You know what I mean? So, but there's a rev share. You know what I mean? So if I'm going to build something big for you, we're gonna take all that money. We're gonna spend all the money up front. We're gonna pay for everything. We're gonna take a bigger share until that asset's paid off, which we like to do at least 24 months. So 2 years when everything paid off, then it goes to 50-50. So, and then, at that point, we're under contract for 15, 20 years for that board, but the location owns the board. I'm sure there's things in the contract that can do whatever, but so my job right now is to go out there and get those meetings to see if we can get some more assets, because they have 2 big ones out here right now. They won the Waldorf. They have one down on the corner of Sahara and Las Vegas Boulevard. Beautiful, beautiful digital board. So my job is coming. I'm in the real estate aspect of it right now.
Right.
So, but the goal is to jump on with them full time after this, and then go back into sell and do real estate at the same time.
I love it. I feel like you can tell by your passion when you're talking about it. You talked about a whole bunch of things you did throughout your career, and each one kind of got you to the next step.
Yeah.
And here you are in Las Vegas, talking about a sign or signs that have been here for years that you were involved in, or in Hollywood.
In Hollywood, yeah.
And then here you are working for a company that's I'll say a family-owned company, because that's what it is. Yeah. But they're a huge company. Huge company.
Yeah, we have 150 locations all over the country. That we have half from the Colorado East is franchise. Colorado West is all LLC. So it's like 125 different YESCO offices around the country.
Nice. Yeah. So we can wrap this up. For the listeners, what's a GSD message that you have, whether it's sports, sales? I mean, you've done quite a bit in your life, and I feel like you've got so much more motivation and discipline to keep going.
Best advice is what I'm kind of following myself right now is try not to worry about what everybody else thinks anymore. You know what I mean? Because no one else cares. Be the best you can. I'm creating better habits. Like I'm getting up every morning. I go out and you get your 10, 15 minutes sunlight. You know what I mean? It really helps. Cold showers. I've been doing some listening on the internet, stuff like that, to try to help me, motivate myself during the day as well. Especially when you work at home, you need to kind of, you need to have that focus.
Right.
So, exercising, a lot more than I was. I just want to get back. Plus, I have a 5-year-old. He's gonna be 6, so I want to be around a lot longer,
Right.
for him because I'm, old man compared to him. So, I say just stick with it. Don't give up. Don't give up. If you have a goal, see it through. At least, and set smaller. They're not even goals anymore. Don't look at them as a goal. Just set little things for you to do during the day. Make sure, instead of leaving your sock around, pick it up.
Yeah.
Put in the wash. Put it whatever. If you get
Don't leave dishes in the sink. Just wash the fucking dishes.
Just wash it. It takes you that much time instead of worrying about later. It's just get shit. No, best way to release your brain from the shit you don't need on your brain. You know what I mean? The more time you have to think about what you want to do, the more successful you're going to be. So all that little shit that you don't do, just do it, and then you have more time to do whatever you want. I mean, there's 300 some hours a week. You work, you sleep, and stuff like that. You still have 100 some hours a week that you can do whatever the fuck you want to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? So make sure you do that kind of stuff. Do small stuff. Like if I get a watermark on my mirror now, wipe it off. Like my mirror is spotless. I mean, I wasn't doing that.
Yeah.
Shower, wipe down every day.
Yeah.
So when I come in, everything's clean, everything's pristine. My closet, everything's in where it's supposed to be. Because when I walk in, there's nothing I have to do.
Yeah. Make your bed, right?
Make my bed every morning.
Yeah.
First thing, I get up, I do my walk, I come back, and I make my bed.
Yeah.
Take my shower, just sit under the cold water for 30 seconds to a minute. Dude, I cannot not take a shower now without going to a cold shower.
So you do a hot shower and then turn it cold?
Then turn it cold.
Yep.
Because it's the whole dopamine thing. There's some stuff you see on.
I see it.
Alex,
the cold.
So, but it works.
Yeah.
Do your mineral water in the morning, stuff like that. It works. I mean, I don't have my coffee for 60 to 90 minutes, and then because there's a certain time of the day when things really work, you want that crash. So you got to make sure you're not getting that crash at a certain time. So I'm telling you what, I haven't felt better. This last couple months when I've really been trying to take care of myself like that, I haven't felt this good in a long time, which to me is helped motivating. So I'm not going to go back.
Yeah. I mean, you look good. Everything you're saying. The only thing you missed was you should also subscribe to the Everyday GSD podcast.
Absolutely. Subscribe
Everyday GSD podcast on YouTube, but it's on every channel.
And every time you watch it, make sure you put the like.
Yes, and every time you watch it. But no, seriously, I loved having you on the show, man. And I appreciate it because if I'm just going to do a little recap because I think it's important. You were a Class A swimmer. That's the term I'm going to use.
Yeah.
So there's a swimmer out there who's like, well, he wasn't a Class A. Well, you're a Class A swimmer. You got to do a challenge. You competed in challenges. One, you swam around Key West, 12.5 miles. You were a star baseball player in college. You made it to the Reds. You were a top salesman. You were creative. You've done acting. You've done, I mean, you have a laundry list of awesome things, and that's not because you didn't put the fucking effort into it.
One thing I want to say to end that.
Yes.
Make sure that I didn't do this for years. Make sure that you appreciate that for yourself. Make sure you go back and you appreciate that because I didn't do that for years, and I didn't really allow myself to really enjoy the things that I've accomplished. Wasn't that because when I was younger, it was never enough. Sometimes
isn't it great being on a show, listening to you telling me all these things? You're like, shit, man, I have done a lot.
But it took a real quick funny story. The first time, it's gonna sound funny. The first time I actually did that, I was on the pot in my house, and someone said something. I'm like, you know what? You're right. Because, I talk to people sometimes, my ex-girlfriends, they sit outside the bathroom. I'm going to tell you. So, you know what I mean?
He's talked to me.
Yeah. So, it's like, when you live by yourself for so long, you never close the doors, right?
Right.
There's no need. So, but, I was talking and she's like, you did so many cool things, and I just, for one time, I was in my 30s, I think, and I'm like, you know what, you're right. And I said, you know what, I have to appreciate that, because if I don't, then, it's not that I'm, it's not going to motivate me. It's going to motivate me more.
Right. Right.
It's going to motivate me more. So now I do appreciate things. And then having a kid, that definitely has changed my world for the better.
Yeah, because you want to do right because you want to see your kid do right.
Oh, absolutely. There's challenges every day, but at the same time, there's never a day now that I don't smile.
Yeah.
And that's
awesome.
a big thing is smile. If you're on a bad day, breathe in, smile. You're going to feel automatic. You're going to feel better. It's impossible not to feel better.
That's good. Say that one again.
I said, if you anytime you had a problem, take a breath and smile. It is 100% impossible for you not to feel better.
I love it. I love it. Hey, man, thank you for being on the
you.
show.
Oh,
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
I do have a gift for you. This is one of our Everyday GSD T-shirts, and this is obviously great quality, just like you, sir.
Oh, absolutely. You good stuff.
Yeah.
I will wear this with pride.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
Thanks for watching the Everyday GSD podcast. Episodes come out on the 1st and 15th of the month. If you want to watch people or listen to people that Everyday GSD, please download and subscribe wherever you listen or watch the Everyday GSD podcast. Everyday GSD.